Hello, everyone. I'm Corey Rosenlee, President of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. I want to welcome all of you who are on our Facebook Live and our YouTube Live. For those of you who have attended our live presentations before, this is going to be a little different. Basically, we're letting you walk in and witness our endorsement process today. So we will not be answering your questions in the comments, but we wanted to give you an opportunity to see our endorsement process and to see both what the reporters ask and what's going on. So with that, I will begin. Okay. So I've had the privilege of working with Colleen Hanabusa for the last couple of years. And during that time, what I've come to learn is that she's highly intelligent. She's an out-of-the-box thinker. And she's a passionate advocate for the people of Hawaii and for the keiki of Hawaii. So in 2016, teachers in Hawaii were having difficulty dealing with an ethics decision that basically said teachers were not only paid to go on trips, but the ethics decision said that by taking these trips, this is an ethics violation. So basically requiring teachers to pay out of their own pocket to take our kids on field trips. This was ridiculous. So we worked with Colleen, and she had an idea of taking this to circuit court. And I remember the day that I sat next to her in circuit court, and I heard her argue this opinion. And I'll tell you, she went without notes. She was able to list all these cases, and she was just amazing in that courtroom. And because of what she did, we won, allowing teachers and their students to take field trips again. Air conditioning has also been a very important issue. And before it was popular for everyone to work on this issue to make sure that our keiki had a proper learning environment, Colleen fought for schools to make sure they had air conditioning. In Maili, they were besieged by flies and they were next to a pig farm. And she fought to make sure that she could get that school air conditioned. And I know that working with her, we've been trying to work to end the teacher shortage crisis in Hawaii. And she's offered ideas on how to solve that. And as mayor, one of the things that she said she wants to work with teachers on is to try to use state land, county land, government land to make sure that we can use that land to look for teacher housing. So I know for all of these reasons, she's going to be a great mayor. And I know that Hawaii right now needs someone who has leadership, someone that has worked at the federal level, someone that has worked at the state level. Because during a crisis, you want someone that can hit the ground running. So for all those reasons, I am proud to announce HSTA's recommendation for Colleen Hanabusa to be mayor of the city and county of Honolulu. Colleen?
Thank you, Cory. And of course, thank you to the executive board and the PAC of HSTA. I can't tell you what an honor it is to be your recommended choice for Hawaii mayor and the Honolulu mayor. And the reason why is this. The HSTA has never before participated in county elections. So I view this as such an amazing stamp of approval to be the first that the HSTA and its membership will be advocating for. I've always been a product of the public school systems, growing up, of course, in Waianae, and knowing what it's like to have probably the least of everything. And people have told me before, don't let people forget that you're from Waianae. And I won't do that. But I also want you to know that that same passion that I have for that advocacy is something that I feel about education. When you're from Waianae like I am, the one thing you know is that equalizing factor for all students is teachers. I know that I am who I am today because of those teachers who taught me in the elementary school. I still remember them. Mrs. Lee taught me math. Mrs. Phelps taught me how to persevere. All these people that left such an impression. And I remember a teacher that intimidated me to no end, only to know later that she thought I was an okay student. Those are the things that matter to you, that you take away. So when you ask someone like me, why are you the way you are? I have to tell you, it's a product of all those wonderful teachers who invested in me at YNI Elementary School. That is why I am the way I am. I can't tell you enough how important it is to have your support and how important it is for me to be a part of this family, because you are an Ohana. The one thing I have come to appreciate the time that I was allowed to represent you, and it was an honor, is that teachers pull together. Teachers know who they are, and teachers know that they are the ones who are going to create the next generation of leaders. So like the teachers that I had affected me and sent me, gave me the necessary training to go to become Senate President, as well as to go to the Congress of the United States. You are going to train the next generation of leaders and have trained the leaders that have followed me. So on behalf of all of us, I want to say mahalo. And I want to say how much I look forward to this election with you and alongside you. Mahalo. And with that, I think, Kyoki, it's all yours.
Mahalo, Congresswoman, and thank you so much. Reporters, if you have some questions you'd like to ask, please let us know. And I see Gordon Pang is the first to get his name in there. So Gordon from the Star Advertiser, can you please unmute yourself and ask away? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Cory mentioned county lands for teacher housing. Is that something you would endorse, Ms. Hanabusa?
Gordon, yes. And I think the best example of that is that when we talk about, for example, rail and how it's going to impact the generations to come, transit-oriented house developments is a critical part. And a lot of that will take place on county lands. And that is something that I believe that when we look at teachers' housing and the construction of schools and where they are, that's a natural fit. The other thing that when Cory mentioned Maili Elementary, I don't know how many people know this, but I'm trying to figure out how we wrap our way around this. The reason why Maili Elementary was situated where it was built in the time when the county, the city and county, built schools. We're so used to the DOE building schools in the state that a lot of us did not know that. But when I was working on the air conditioning of Maili, the thing that struck me is, why is it next to a park? And it's because the county built the school. The use of parks, when you think about it, is an efficient use of lands, especially in that context. So these are the various types of ideas that I feel we have to bring to the table and look at it. The most important thing is location, preferably near a rail line or near the school itself. And when we look at some of these older schools, you know that they are located near public parks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thanks, Gordon. And next, Ashley Nagaoka from Hawaii News Now has a question. And hi, Suvan, just put your name over in the chat if you'd like to ask any questions. And Chels? I'm sorry, Ash?
This is for Cory. Cory, talk about why HSTA for the first time is getting involved in the city elections.
You know, I think one of the things we realize both as an organization and as teachers is that the conditions that our children come to school matter so much as well. You know, whether a child is homeless or what their family is facing, we know that these situations impact our classroom. And we've often seen too that there are issues that are very important for our members as members of our society as well. And so because of these reasons, we have started to dip our toes into the city and county races, and starting off with the city and county of Honolulu. And this year we started to look at how we could do teacher housing. And we know potentially that's a great partner we could have with the city and county. You know, so I think that for a variety of reasons, we've decided to try to get involved.
Okay, and do we have any other reporter questions? Yeah, Gordon, take it away.
Needed to unmute myself here. So you mentioned the property taxes for public school systems. during the last legislature, that was something that was discussed. Cory, can you expand on that a little bit and how that might affect the city? And Colleen, if you could give us your thoughts on that as well. Would you support that?
Well, across the nation, about 45% of all funding of schools comes from local sources and county sources. That's not how it does in Hawaii, and that's not something that potentially we should advocate for as the trying to get taxation that way. But that doesn't mean that we don't want counties to start feeling that they have some responsibility for our schools. And as Colleen mentioned before, they used to be responsible for the facilities. So, I think what we want to start doing is working with the counties to see how potentially they can help with education. And I think teacher housing is a great area where we can potentially work with the city and counties.
Gordon, I think that the problem that we all have is that for some reason we think that because teachers are employees on state payroll, that they have nothing to do with the city and county. That's absolutely wrong. Teachers are residents and they're part of the city and county of Honolulu, and they are entitled to the same kind of benefits and protections that all residents deserve. So that's the first thing. And simply because they're teachers, it doesn't end the responsibility. So as Cory pointed out earlier, they have issues dealing with homelessness and how that affects the students, how it affects the student performance. And of course, that links back to what the city is doing. The question you had specifically on the real property tax, as you know, it was an issue in 2018. I believe both Governor Ige and I supported it. And it is a constitutional amendment at that point. And it is for the people to actually play into it. So what we need to have is the opportunity for the teachers and everyone else to make that case. And we need for it to go to the public for determination. The people have always said, you can take any poll. People are always in favor of supporting education. This is an example of, okay, this is an alternative to some form of funding, and the funding that will be used for a designated purpose. Let the people decide. And that, to me, is the most important thing. But let's not forget, teachers are part of the city and county of Honolulu. Probably the largest percentage and majority of them are part of the city and county of Honolulu. The mayor has an obligation to be cognizant of how the city can better and affect their lives and how they invest in the future of the city as well as in the state, in how they educate the students of city and county of Honolulu.
Thanks, Gordon. Any
Thank you.
other reporter questions? And in the meantime, I actually have one that I've been hearing from our members who, of course, everybody knows that teachers in Hawaii are tremendously underpaid and their salaries have not kept up with inflation and the cost of living in the islands. And these are, teachers come from working class families. And so, Congresswoman, could you tell us about, how are you going to help the working class families who, as you well know, are really struggling to make ends meet on this island, especially, after the pandemic, many folks losing some work or all of their jobs in some cases?
Keoki, the working class families is the backbone of the country, the state, and the city and county of Honolulu. And those who are in elected positions or positions of decision-making should never, ever forget that. And I've always said, the teachers are the ones who train our future leaders. So when we talk about the future and what it's going to look like, we need to begin with the investment for those who are going to shape them. So when we look at what do we do now? How do we address the low cost of pay that they have? And it's when you just look at the numbers, some people say, well, it's not bad. But when you put in Honolulu's cost of living and Hawaii's cost of living, they're really on the bottom 10. I believe it's like that bad. So what we need to do is we need to make that decision that we are going to invest in them. And that we've had issues, for example, of whether or not teachers who teach special ed. We've had the Felix consent decree. We've had issues associated with that. We've had a Supreme Court decision that talks about Native Hawaiians and the ability to have that education within the DOE system. And we also have teachers like those who were good enough to teach me that are in areas that need special attention because the teachers may not want to go out there, or they should be actually rewarded for doing that kind of a task. So when you look at all of this, we need to support that. I think part of it is that we need to be aware of how the salary schedules work. And what we need are people who are cognizant. And that's what I represent as the mayor of the city and county of Honolulu. I understand all these intricacies. And with that, we can pull together and assist all those who are making this decision to say why the city and county would be for the various programs. There is no question, there's no question that money is going to be difficult. However, what government does and what those who are elected are paid to do is to prioritize and to assist in that. And this is something that we must make a priority of, and that is the pay for our teachers.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. And Cory, I was just wondering, we're also, for the first time, we're making endorsements in Honolulu City and County this year, recommendations for political office, including members of the City Council. They're not all up for re-election this year, and I know some folks are interested in those names. We'll be releasing those in a news release later today. And we have already sent a notice to our members about our recommendations there, but would you be able to share those names to folks now?
Yeah, so not only for the first time are we getting involved with the mayor for Honolulu, the city and county of Honolulu, but we've also made endorsements for the city council races as well. For District 1, it's Anthony Makana Perez. For Council District 5, Calvin Say. For Council District 7, a former teacher, Ryan Mandato. And for Council District 9, Willis Sparrow.
And can you just tell us quickly, Cory, how does HSTA's recommendation process work?
So HSTA is a very democratic process that relies on our volunteers and our members to reach out to our candidates. So basically, if someone has pulled papers, we reach out to them, ask them to apply to go for the recommendation for HSTA. Once that happens, our government relations committee sends out a questionnaire for them to answer, and also does an interview for all the candidates. Then our government relations committee votes, sends that recommendation up to our board of directors, who also takes a vote. So during the process, it's many steps, it's many layers, but we want to make sure that we get as many teachers as part of the conversation as possible.
Thank you very much. And best of luck to you, Congresswoman, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you to everybody for joining us throughout the state on Facebook and YouTube. And don't forget to vote. Please make sure you register and please vote, right? And this ends this live broadcast, which will also be available in an archived fashion on YouTube and Facebook for you folks to forward to your friends and family members. And please pass the word. And thank you so much for joining us. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Aloha.